Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're breaking down the ultimate strategic roadmap for Indian medical and nursing professionals who are aiming to practice abroad in 2026. We've gathered all the latest data, the changing regulations, and the exact timelines you need to visually map out your career. We're going to turn what feels like a really complicated process into a simple, actionable plan. Let's get into it.
So, I've got to ask you, are you truly ready to take your medical or nursing career global in 2026? Are you prepared to navigate what honestly can feel like a high-stakes labyrinth of international licensing, visa applications, and some seriously tough exams? Because it's not just about passing a test, right? It's all about strategic timing. So let's dive right in and make absolutely sure you have the exact blueprint you need to succeed. All right, starting off with Section 1, Avoiding Fake Colleges and NMC Rules. Now, the National Medical Commission is not messing around. They have issued a really stark official advisory because they are actively watching unauthorized medical colleges that are operating without the right approvals and trying to mislead students with these direct admission offers. You must never, ever fall for fake admission offers outside of the official NEET channel, period. Only medical colleges listed on the official NMC website are legally allowed to offer degrees. If you graduate from a non-compliant institution, you are going to be completely ineligible for licensing exams back home. Also, if you're studying abroad with the intent to eventually return, the NMC has laid out some incredibly strict foreign medical graduate licentiate rules. You need a minimum of 54 months of education in a single institution, followed by a 12-month internship at that exact same foreign university. Oh, and the medium of instruction has to be English. On top of that, you have to be registered with the professional regulatory body of that country, completely on par with their own local citizens. Missing literally even one of these steps means automatic disqualification when you try to return and practice in India. So be careful. Moving right along to Section 2, the Global Nursing Roadmap. Okay, for our nurses, your options vary wildly depending on what your ultimate life goals are. Let's look at the UAE, which is regulated by bodies like the DHA, DOH, or MOHAP. The timeline here is blazing fast, just 6 to 14 weeks, and it leads to a highly lucrative tax-free salary, roughly between 1.24 and 3.15 lakh rupees. Now, contrast that directly with Germany. Germany takes about 12 to 24 months, largely because you have to learn the language, but it offers a very high salary of 2.6 to 4 lakh rupees, plus a clear, structured track to permanent residency and eventually European citizenship. The UK is a fantastic middle ground through the NHS, taking about 9 to 14 months, while Malaysia serves as an incredibly smart, low-barrier starting point for fresh grads who just want to build up their international clinical confidence quickly. But hold on, before you apply to any of those countries, your Indian documentation needs to be bulletproof. The universal preparation hurdles include your INC registration and your NUI digital ID. But please be incredibly careful with your good standing certificate. It is valid for only 6 months. I can't stress that enough. If your application gets delayed and it expires, you have to start the whole process over. Also, keep in mind the strict same-state rule for the UAE. Your INC registration, your good standing certificate, and your clinical experience must all originate from the exact same Indian state. Otherwise, your application is going to bounce right back. Next up is Section 3, UKMLA for Indian doctors. So before you even touch the medical knowledge stuff, you've got to get past the English gatekeeper. You really have two main choices here. The IELTS academic format requires a massive 7.5 overall score, and you need a minimum of 7.0 in every single section. Get a 6.5 in writing, you fail. Alternatively, there's the OET, or Occupational English Test, which requires a grade B across the board. The fundamental difference here is the format itself. IELTS is super generic and academic, while the OET actually involves healthcare-specific role play, things like patient consultations and writing clinical case letters. For most doctors, the OET just plays much better to the clinical strengths you already have. Once your English is cleared, here is your real-world timeline for the UKMLA. Months 1 and 2, those are eaten up entirely by GMC document verification. Do not underestimate this administrative phase. It takes time. Months 3 through 5 are dedicated to prepping for and taking the AKT. That's the Applied Knowledge Test. If you pass that, months 6 through 8 are hyper-focused on the CPSA. That is an intense 16-station practical clinical exam that you absolutely must take in person in Manchester. So you really need to budget a solid 6 to 8 months of focused execution for this entire pathway. Moving on to Section 4, USMLE and Mastering the Timeline.
I need you to hear me on this. Timing is absolutely everything on the USMLE pathway. Most students don't fail because they study wrong. They fail because they take the exam at the completely wrong time in their lives. Also, keep in mind that as of January 2026, all international medical graduate exam services are moving from the ECFMG directly over to the FSMB. You absolutely must align Step 1, which is thankfully now pass-fail, with your third year of MBBS when all those basic sciences are fresh in your brain. Then take Step 2 CK in the first few months of your internship. You need that active student status to secure vital U.S. clinical electives through systems like VSLO. You're going to want to target a 245 or higher on Step 2 CK, and then just leave Step 3 for post-internship. But here's a huge question that introduces a massive logistical hurdle for literally every single Indian medical student on this path. Where exactly do you physically sit down to take the USMLE? Well, the crazy reality is that there are absolutely zero Prometric USMLE testing centers on Indian soil. None. You have to travel internationally. Kathmandu, Nepal is overwhelmingly the most popular choice because it's the closest, it's the most budget-friendly with travel costs only around $150 to $300, and it requires zero visa for Indian citizens. But because everyone knows this, you have to book your testing slot and travel months in advance. If you don't, you'll be forced to fly out to Dubai or Bangkok at double or even triple the cost. Let's bring it all together in Section 5, Navigating Visas and Costs. Okay, let's ground all this advice in stark financial reality. The total investment for the USMLE pathway sits between $21,000 and $25,000. That is roughly 18 to 22 lakh rupees. Look closely at the breakdown here. The actual exam fees only make up about 15% of that investment. A massive 60% chunk goes straight into U.S. clinical experience, travel, and living costs, and a full quarter, 25%, goes just to transmitting your ERACE application to residency programs. You have to financially plan for the whole pie, guys, not just the test fees. Now, for those of you heading to the UK for training or study, the visa process is rigorous, but it's highly structured. The absolute essentials you need include your CAS, that's the confirmation of acceptance for studies from a licensed sponsor. You'll also need a $524 application fee, rock-solid proof of maintenance funds to show the government you can actually support yourself, and that proven English proficiency we talked about earlier. Get all this paperwork ready up to 6 months in advance to avoid any stress. So, after laying all of this out, the ball is entirely in your court. Which global pathway are you committing to in 2026? Whether you're a nurse chasing a crazy fast, tax-free timeline in the UAE, or a doctor carefully mapping out a multi-year USMLE strategy, the time to start building that global future isn't tomorrow, it's today. Choose your path, respect the timeline, organize those documents, and go make it happen.